Okay, my couture crafters, let's get into this wand. I am so excited about it. I just freaking love it. So, I ordered some wands from a guy off Etsy. It's like only one guy that has unfinished wands, and that's what I needed because I don't have a lathe, I don't think. So he does them. This is what he does, but they're short to me. They're only 12 inches, and I knew that I wanted to extend it, and I knew that I wanted to make it glow. So what I did was busted out my handy dandy Dremel and a saw, and it was a fail because the saw, I needed to put a snake on my Dremel. So I just grabbed a hacksaw and just sawed through them. And I did two. If you can, always have a backup that you're doing so you can test stuff. Um, because the saw did not want to work properly. All right, grab some packing tape and we are going to make a mold. The most important thing to know about this mold is to make sure that the ends are super tight to the wood. You don't want to have any seepage. I did on my test wand and that was unfortunate. It's fine, but I had to sand off the resin that got on the wood. So you want to make sure that it's tight around the wood. You can put some more tape there. You can put rubber bands there. It really doesn't matter. Just try to make sure that it doesn't touch the wood if that's not what you're going for. I was trying to keep my glow in the dark space right there very specific. I didn't want resin because I just don't have the tools to really do what I wanted to do. So I'm using Alumilite. You get it from Michael's resin. It's AB Easy 50/50. I'm testing to make sure that this glow powder that I got from Amazon will still glow in the resin, and it does. I really like that glow powder. It needs to be activated by light, which is not a big deal. Most neon and glow in the dark stuff does. But I added a ton of this powder to the resin, and I'm not going to say it didn't affect it because my resin did not behave the way I wanted it to. I usually use art resin and I didn't because I was told this one dries faster and it was fine. And I couldn't get to my art resin as quickly as I wanted to. So I didn't get the best results from my resin, but it works. It totally works. I'm still happy with it. I'm testing it to see which one glows the brightest. I knew that I wanted blue in mine. So I went ahead and mixed the teal powder with the blue powder and it came out blue. And that way it wasn't like that milky color. I really wanted a color right there. And I should have painted my wand differently too, but blah, blah, blah. You live and you learn. I love my wand, whatever. So I added a ton of powder, guys. You see how much powder I'm adding to this, and it still behaved pretty good. It didn't not dry. And that's what you want to be careful with resin is that you don't change the composition. Like you don't put paint in there and then all of a sudden your resin won't cure. That's the biggest deal right there. So that's why I like to use powders to change the color of resin. And they do have powders and things out there that will help you do that. Some people use alcohol ink and all that kind of stuff, but again, you got to be careful to make sure that it will actually cure. So I cut a little hole with an X-Acto knife in my tape mold. And for whatever reason, it caused some kind of vacuum when I was pouring this in. So I could never actually fill up the little tape section there. It's like a little indentation, a hole. I had to wait for the resin to cure a bit, mix up another batch, and then pour it on top. If I were doing this again, I would go about the resin probably a little differently. The way that I cut the hole, I might cut multiple holes. I really don't know how to fix this. Luckily, I was able to pretty much get colors that matched. I tried some different things like mixing up different colors of resin, but that little hole right there would not fill to the top. It just sucked down or pushed it out and it was not going for it. But the rest of it was fine. It was a smooth casting other than that. And finally, I let it cure, then I poured it on top, and then it stayed there enough so that I could just sand it down smooth. I'm charging it again just to see what it's going to look like, and we got action. We got glow in the dark action. We're good. But that little hole bothered me. I poked it with a toothpick. I'm like, it's creating some kind of vacuum in there. I have, I bought 4 wands, and so then I see the little hole? See the hole? And you see how that resin's touching the wood? Yeah, I had to sand all that off. Not a big deal, but whatever. And I cut off the excess resin and then I peeled that tape off. And where the tape was touching the resin, it came off pretty good. But again, I'm sanding it, so I really wasn't too concerned about how it was touching it. Not the biggest deal. So I did three wands this way, and then the other one I used as a test to test the colors that I was airbrushing, which came out beautiful. I mean, it's so pretty. It's 12 inches, but it's a gorgeous one. I wish I had added a picture of the test one because I'm telling you, it is just gorgeous. So then I got some sanding paper from Home Depot. I've got three different grits, 80 to 220, 400 in another package, and then I went up to 800, and I think I even have one that's 2000. You just keep going up. The higher the number, the smoother it is, and you work your way up. You start off with the grit that is super hard and coarse, and don't be scared to sand resin. It's a thing. It's okay. So you scuff it up, and then you go down to the next one. Then you go down to the next one. You can add water if you want to do a wet sand. I did somewhat of a wet sand, but don't be scared. Put on a mask and go to town, and just sit there and chill. Watch a movie and sand like the Dickens. I was able to sand off that. I had some bubbles. This is the first time again I'm working with this resin. I don't love it, but it worked. There's some bubbles, and I probably could have carved into the resin and gotten the bubbles out, but I didn't want to. I wanted a smooth finish, so I just said, you know what? I'm gonna live with the little bubbles. Just live with them. It's okay. And here I am testing them to see if they will glow in the dark, and they do. I tried some with different colors. One looks like a Now and Later, not a Now and Later, like a Jolly Rancher, a two-color Jolly Rancher, and they work pretty good. It's fun. I like it. So one of them I decided to paint all black. I haven't done anything with the two that have resin in them. I don't know what I want to do with them. In my mind, I was going to do a darker color scheme, but that's not really who I am. That's not really who my Harry Potter character is going to be. So I was like, forget that. Um, I actually shot mine with a primer before I painted my actual one, which is the blue one over there. That feather is a feather leaf mold. I put that on before I even cut it. I baked it on there. Yeah, I baked that on there. I molded it with some random clay that I had left over, wrapped it around the bottom of the wand, sculpted it so that it kind of melted into the wand, and then I baked it. And so that's how come that one has the feather. Because of course my character is a descendant of Dumbledore, therefore, or the Dumbledores, therefore I've got the Phoenix thing going on. I didn't like the way that this box opened, so I moved the latches. And here I am painting it. So I removed the latches, and then I went to town painting this box. I knew that I wanted kind of a funky, old timey kind of, but Mac style kind of box. This box speaks to me. It's definitely got the ombre. You guys know I'm an ombre kind of girl. And I like the colors on it. I just do. They go so well with my Hufflepuff house. So I used some dilutions. I used some Dina Wakley, and I used some basics. I like basics. It's thick. I like textured paint. You can certainly water it down if you want to, if you just want to do a wash. You dip the brush in half the color and half the other color, and then you get an ombre. You just go back and forth, and it will smooth out the more you work it into your substrate. I didn't love all that stark white, so I went back and fixed up the colors till I was happy. And I'm really pleased with the way that this box turned out. You see how I'm making sure that I'm loading the brush on the right side, because if you're not paying attention, you might dip it in the wrong side and then you'll have a mess and you'll have to start over. I ended up actually mixing some colors for this box, so I don't have like one true color. I did Ocean from Dina Wakley with some turquoise and teal, and that's how I got this color right here, which I love. It came out so pretty, and I added some green from Basics just to get this color. I had to carve a notch in this box so that the wand would fit because it was so long. And unfortunately, I didn't try to close the box before I finished. And so I had to actually mix up a teeny weeny bit of this color again just to paint the inside of the box. So be careful with that, because, some things only happen to me, I tell you. All right, I busted out my airbrush. I actually picked up a new airbrush because I couldn't find my old one, which sucks because I have a really nice Iwata. But I grabbed the master airbrush kit and then I bought the 24 colors along with the kit. And I'm very, very pleased with how pretty these colors are. I want to buy some more. I want to make sure I have all their colors because they're so pretty. And I think I'm going to be doing some more airbrushing. I haven't airbrushed in a while. My gun was spitting water, and so I actually stopped what I was doing, jumped up, ran to the store, and got a moisture trap, and that fixed it completely. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's an airbrush thing. It's moisture builds up the longer you use the airbrush, and it'll mess up your project. And this tried not to let me be great. Can you believe that? I said, And so I went and grabbed a different one. And yeah, I have a moisture trap on the actual gun, on the actual compressor too. Fastest way to switch colors, because you see I'm doing like 17 colors, is you squirt water down into the well, dump it out, and then shoot the last bit of water and paint in there. Put water in there again, pull the trigger until you see nothing, and that is the fastest way. Trying to clean it out with cleaner, you'll be doing this forever. I only used 3 drops of airbrush paint for each color for the most part, and they came out just as beautiful. I hit this with the Martha Stewart primer before, but I didn't do it hard because I kind of wanted the wood to show through. The only reason why I really had to do that primer is because I wasn't smart enough to use a mold with decent color of clay. Why would I do that blue? I have every color of the rainbow in clay, and I chose to put that blue on there, which I was like, shoot, I'm going to have to prime it. And the primer does not love that clay. Just wasn't my finest moment. I should have used translucent. That's what I should have used, translucent. Do I have it? Of course I have it. That was a fail. But the colors came out beautifully. I actually taped myself doing the entire airbrushing, but nobody wants to see that. That's so boring. So I'm just showing you guys a few colors. I laid them all out in a order that I was pleased with, and I kept them in that order so that I did not get confused, and I love it. So now it's time to paint the black and white checks. Now, I was not going for perfection. If I was, I would have used tape. I was going for old world, hand painted, kind of Mackenzie Childs-esque with the streaks in the paint. And I only did 1 layer, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. You dip your corner of your paintbrush, just the corner, and start pulling the color through with a few swipes, and you just go and blend until you're happy with it. I used gold and teal in the white. I left the black, just regular black. I used a chalk pencil to mark it out. I wish that I had done it a little more symmetrical, but whatever. Now I'm going down my wand. It actually wraps all the way around. When I saw the wands that were available, I had to have a wand that twisted because this was my idea from Day Dot. And I'm hand painting it. It took a while. And again, I'm not going for perfection here. If I was, I'd do it a little differently. But I'm very pleased. I lined the box with Hufflepuff paper that I purchased off Etsy. And I printed on my Canon printer that I love. And I'm just showing you guys how I traced that little well. So this is a wand box that I bought off of Amazon, and it's nice. It's long. It's cool. It's a pretty cool box. I just needed to have a little place for the tip of my wand to rest. I was initially going to line it with that velvet paper, but Hufflepuff paper is so much better. And if you don't love the way that gold goes with that teal, I just don't know that we can be friends. And so I'm showing you the inside. I just cut paper strips down to size and stuck them in there with my trusty art glitter glue. And I'm really pleased with the lining. That paper is so me. Argyle and stripes all day long. So moving on. Where are we going now? What's happening? Oh, apparently I have to show you all of the box. I guess I really, really, really like this box. So yeah, again, the lining, Hufflepuff paper that I printed out, 12 by 12 borderless. I'm getting ready to move the latches now. I did not feel like pulling out the Dremel and drilling holes, which would have been so much faster and the screws would have gone in so much neater. However, I was having a lazy moment. So instead, I took an awl and I gave myself a starting point and I let those screws self-tap. And they did. Those little tiny little itty bitty screws tapped pretty decent. Well, for the most part. They're not imperfectly straight, but I don't care. So much fun. Arteza pigment powders. I have the 60 pack. I wish they were all as vibrant as, you guys know I like vibrant. I want it as bright as I can get it. And these were pretty cool, but some of the colors were not as bright as I wanted them to be. So I had the genius idea to go grab my MAC makeup. And I'm like, pigments are pigments, right? Where I messed up is that MAC pigments that are matte, M-A-T-T-E, with a non-shiny finish do not work for this. But the ones that are shiny, that are like pressed pigments, like mica pigments, totally work. No issues. They will work. If I had really had the time, I would have done this a third time. I did it twice. You're looking at the first time that I attempted this, and then I cast it, and it came out okay. It was just not as vibrant as I wanted it to be. So I changed out some stuff, and I wish that I had time to do it one more time because I could have got it exactly the way that I wanted. But the second time definitely came out better. I'm using clothing dye that you can get from Michaels. I got mine from Blick's art supply store. Not the best way to color this resin. There were definitely chunks of black in there. It just didn't matter because I had already dusted the mold. So you really can't see it unless you put it up in the light. But it did not dissolve completely. And that could have been because I did not stir it good enough. But really, it looks black. But when you pour it, it's kind of a clear gray with some black spots of dust in there. Again, they make stuff to color resin. Just get the stuff to color the resin if it's important. But mica powder usually shows up best with a black cardstock on something darker. So I figured instead of pouring a white resin, I should pour black. I wonder what would have happened if I had done white. I didn't have time to test it. I wish I had bought several of those molds. That mold is by Zuri, Z-U-R-I. They only have a few molds, but the ones they do are gorgeous. They have an owl that I want. I think they have a swan or something. Random, but some of the most beautiful molds you ever did see. Again, Zuri, Z-U-R-I. You're looking at the first Phoenix that I did. I'm showing you that I've just filed in between the feathers and the little places where I need to knock out a little bit of the resin, and there weren't many at all. But I just didn't love, something about those wings just irked me. So, switched it out, tried it again. There's something magical about demolding something. You see that gold nail? Yeah, I went for the big guns. I got some Magnolia Pressed Pigment, which is an eyeshadow company with the most beautiful pigments. Oh, those changing ones that are duo and triple chrome, those probably would have been really cool too. So that's the first one on the left, the second one on the right. You might not be able to tell, but I can definitely tell that there are some slight differences that I love. And now I am adding some Gorilla Glue because E6000 is gone in the world. I don't know why. Even with Amazon, they keep pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back. I'm like, dude, I need some E6000. Do I? Nah. This Gorilla Glue worked just like it. Smelled like it, everything. Put it down, stuck it down, held it down for 2 seconds, and that sucker was on there. Plays no games. And that is the end of this. That is my box. I love it. I hope you love it. Let me know. And there's my beautiful wand. Aww. And here it is glowing in the dark. Check out my Instagram so you can hear the music that goes along with this. And there you are. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I will see you on my next project. Bye-bye.